No, of course it's not broken again. Come on. There we go. God, simplest little bloody thing. No, it's not broken again. I'm putting the tow bar on because I'm going to need that next Thursday. Today is the 31st of March. So we're coming up to the bank holiday weekend in the UK. So all our working hours and stuff have changed again. But only for this week. So now I'm working Monday through to Thursday. Then I've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. And there's a load of stuff I need to get done and sorted. And then the following week on the Thursday, I'm off up to Manchester. So I was going to be, the plan was, it's 1.6 metres high, this milling machine. And that's what I'm collecting from Doddy in Manchester. That ain't 1.6. So I was looking around for a man in a van, was going to rent a Luton. And they're tall enough, but the tail lift on it only lifts 500 kilos, and I reckon we're dealing with close on 1,000. So that's no good. And I haven't got engine hoist or anything else. It's bike engines, isn't it? You just pick them up. Well, I can't pick up 1,000 kilos. So I was going to be getting a logistics firm to go and pick it up for me. Oh my God, is that stupid money? Like ridiculous. I put a thingy out on Shipley, which basically it's like an auction site for transportation, and everybody can bid on it, and you know, you pick the one you want and they get the job. Anyway, I had bids from 450 quid to 1,400 quid. I couldn't believe it, and that was part of the pallet network as well. So plans of going up and seeing the man and putting it on a pallet and coming home and somebody else can bring it back for me, that's straight out the window. So what I've done is there's a fella in Plymouth who hires out, as far as I can tell he's the only fella, but he hires out a car trailer. Well, you know, a car weighs a bit more than this mill, so that will do the job. And it's got a winch on it, and it all tips up, and it's got a whale tail flappy thing on the end to help us get it up there. So I think we should be all right. So I'm hiring that, hence I need a tow bar because I'm going up in the van and I'm bringing it back on the same day. So that's going to be a long day. Strangely enough, well, when I went to get the latest stuff, Steve-O was busy. So now there's more heavy lifting involved because I'm going to get the mill. He's busy again. He's got his girls. So he ain't coming, it's just me. I've got to do it on my own. So that's going to be fun. 1,000 kilos. Go on then, shift it. We have a cunning plan, we will take you along. Just so you can see how we do it basically. Hopefully it don't fall over. Anyway, I'm going to button this down. Basically I've just bolted this on. I'll get the wiring sorted tomorrow, that'll be fine. And then there's a few other odds and sods, but I really want to start getting things ready for the front end swap on ASBO. Because I've pretty much got everything I need. I've ordered some bearings because I want new wheel bearings and new headstock bearings, but I think we have pretty much got everything we need, so I'm going to make a start on that. I want everything ready just so I can slap it on. Oh yeah, Steve-O's down this weekend, so I can berate him about not coming to get a mill. But he's down this weekend, so the next video you're going to see is going to be, there's a few bits and pieces we need to do to jix it. We need to drop the suspension to make sure the front wheel's going to clear the radiator and blah blah blah. He needs to sit on it and make sure the pegs are in the right place and all that other sort of stuff. And then we can basically start pulling it all apart, but I need his okay on stuff before we go any further. So that's coming up on Sunday as well. Well, I bet you're going to be a complete cock to get in, aren't you? Oh no. Here we go. I didn't even break it that time. I'm using my mug from John and Sarah, all the way from New Zealand. It's cool. Right, okay, so this video, I want to talk about the front end swap that I'm doing on ASBO. Loads of people do front end swaps. Loads of people. They all tend to go for the same sort of stuff that Steve-O did, which is stick a set of upside downies on it. So anyway, I'm not walking that path. I've got very definite ideas about what I want to do with ASBO, and that is I want to make it look like a much older Cafe Racer, you know, maybe with a couple of little twists here and there. I want it to be real minimal looking, a bit like Dixit is. You know, I don't want you to see wiring and all that, so I want it real simple looking, but I want it to look a lot older than what it actually is. So I'm not going upside down these because that's pointless, because they didn't have them in yesteryear. So what I'm doing is going for a set of conventional forks. Now, my criteria for conventional forks that I was going to stick on here is actually quite simple, really. They've got to be fully adjustable, right? They've at least got to have preload, rebound and compression, because the rubbish that's on a Bandit as stock, it ain't got any of that, nothing. You've got preload. Basically, you can, on a standard Bandit, you can change the spring rate, you can change the weight of oil and the amount of oil, so your air gap, and that's it. That's all you can do. It's as bouncy as a pogo stick, and it does all this in the corners, and it's horrible. So it's going. So you can get things like cartridge emulators, which is a little doohickey that goes down inside the fork, and it tries to emulate what a cartridge does, which is fine. But when you stick it in, you ain't gonna have it right first time. And to change anything, you've got to have it all apart again, fish the doohickey out the fork, change it, stick it back in again, rebuild everything, stick it on the bike and have a play. And then go, yeah, it's still not right. So I ain't doing that either. We're going for a proper fork swap out. These are off a Daytona 955i. I want to say 2007, I could be wrong, I don't really know. I just like them because of the way they looked. And that they've also got compression, preload and rebound damping. They're a conventional fork, which is nice. And they're also basically the same length as the stock forks, which I did a load of digging about and everything else trying to find forks the same, because I don't want to monkey about with the geometry. There's a little fellow at Suzuki that came up with all that lot, who knows a damn sight more than I did. So I want to keep the geometry the same. That way, when I come to rebuilding, you know, when I come to do a frame jig and make my own frame, I'm following all the same geometry, so I've got the least number of variables going. We should end up with a really good handling bike. So that's why I've gone for these. And there weren't that many options around. Once you start going conventional fork with all this damping, that size please. This one kept on coming up and I had a look and I just like the look of it, so that's what I've gone for. That's not it though. That's not everything. People think, oh, front end swap, that's easy. You just whip the forks out and stick new ones in. No, you don't. No, you don't at all. And this video, we're going to go through all the bits and pieces that I've got to change and the reasons why. Just because if you're thinking of doing something similar, you really do need to do your own work and figure all this stuff out. So anyway, we've got the forks. I've also got this. This is a Bandit bottom yoke with the pin in it. Right, this is kind of, it's for me to try stuff basically. And I'll explain why. But basically, these forks don't fit. Not at all. They're about as wide as this collar. So, you know, obviously you need to change the yokes. And that's where things start getting interesting. Oh, you can stay on. So my next step was to get a set of Daytona yokes. These are meant to go on those forks. And they fit. Well, this should start for 10, isn't it? So happy days on that one. However, once you start looking, things is very different. The steering stem on this is a lot shorter than the one on the Bandit. Thing is, this has got to go through the frame tube. You know, the steering headstock. So so I can't stick a shorter one in. I've got to go with this one, which means I've got to press that steering stem out and stick it in here. Now luckily, and I couldn't research this bit, I couldn't find the answers anywhere, but luckily on the Mark 1 Bandit, the steering stem is 25.8 millimeters in diameter, give or take. The steering stem on the Daytona is 25.56. So they're different as well. Basically, I'm going to have a smaller hole to shove that in, which is, you know, not necessarily a good thing. So we have got a couple of options. Could turn that down, don't really want to do that. Or we could open this up just a little bit with a boring bar on a milling machine, which I ain't got now because that one's sold, but I am getting one, and there's one in work I could use as well. So anyway, I could open that up to an interference fit and I could shove that in there. That's fine. Happy days. I've got a 20-ton hydraulic press, so essentially I'll be running bottom yoke off the Daytona with a Bandit steering stem and then the Daytona top yoke, like that. So that's alright. This cap ain't gonna do, because we ain't even gonna be using it. We're gonna be using the Bandit one. But the Bandit one is basically a hex dome med thing that goes on there. So we're gonna have a few issues there because this is recessed, so we're gonna have to have some sort of space, or I'll probably just remake another one of these, something that's in keeping with that. Probably looks a bit like that. I don't know, but we'll figure all that stuff out. So that's the second bit. So now I've got essentially my yoke with a different pin shoved in the frame of the bike, and I've got a fork down each leg, down each hole. You with me so far? Oh yeah, this is a sacrificial one basically. I haven't pressed one of these out. I also don't know what the diameter is at the bottom. It could be that once this is pressed out, they're essentially the same sort of diameter. I don't know. But I've got this as a spare just so I can hammer into it, get the steering stem out with the press, and if I cock it up, I don't really care because I've got another one over there. This is for me to try stuff out on. We are going to need to get some different bearings. Obviously we just go with the Mark 1 ones because it's going to have the same steering stem and it's going in the same frame. So Mark 1 Bandit headstock bearings, they'll do the do. But you know, you're going to all this trouble of changing stuff. Why not change it? It's stupid. Right, so that's those two bits. So then you come to sticking the front wheel in. Right, so this is a Bandit front wheel. Not the one that's on ASBO, this is another one. But it's basically the same, it just hasn't got the discs on. This is the axle. This is the pin that obviously goes through the Daytona forks, screws in that end. The only trouble is, it don't go through there because the hole's too small. Or the shaft is too big. Ha. So that's the first problem. You think, well okay, we'll just get some different bearings then. Get some with a bigger hole in the middle, that's easy enough. Get all sorts of bearings these days. Well that's not what the problem is basically. The problem is these little brackety jobbies on the bottom of the fork legs for the brake calipers. The Bandit ones don't fit on there, and even if they did, they would be in the wrong place. So I could come up with an adapter bracket that changes that into another hole pattern and run them to work on a 290mm disc using a standard Bandit front wheel with different bearings in the front. But that just seems like an awful lot of cocking about. That really does. It really does. So I started looking, can I get, what size discs run on a Daytona? Answer, 320mm. Alright, start looking around. And there's an awful lot of 320mm discs out there. However, there's not that many with a 5-hole bolt pattern that is going to fit this wheel. It's like I was looking for ages, I couldn't find any. So we need a different option as far as brakes go. So the easy option is to look back at the Daytona. So that's what I did, and I ended up getting this. Ooh. This is the front wheel off a Daytona. So you see the pin goes through. That's all quite good and happy. I do need to get some different bearings because apparently these came in 20mm and 25mm. This is the 20mm one. This wheel came off one with a 25mm pin. So I would need to change the bearings anyway. So I'll just get some bearings that are down, to fit the 20mm axle. So that's not a problem. That's not a problem at all. And it's got 3 20mm discs on, which are like easy enough to replace. You can get them anywhere. It's just a 6-hole bolt pack. So all it needs is a bit of rubber around the outside, new bearings. I haven't bothered about painting it yet. That will come later on when we build the bike. But then basically that pin will go through and it will secure the wheel to these forks, and the disc will be in the right place. But I can't use the Bandit calipers because they're the wrong size, and to be fair, they're junk. They really are rubbish. It's like 2 pot stoppies on one side. It's pointless. So I figured if we're going to all this trouble of uprating suspension and everything else, we might as well uprate the braking system and have it all in keeping with this. So put you there for the minute. Don't go anywhere. So I've got a set of these. These are Daytona. I think they're interchangeable actually with a 595. But these are off a 955i. And they're basically to fit that there's 2 different on the Daytona, the spacing of the calipers is 2 different sorts, so make sure you get the right one. Basically I just measured them and I've got these off eBay because they're all going to get refitted anyway, and these ones do obviously fit, so that's all good. I've got a service kit for all this stuff anyway, but now I've got brakes that will go on here. These are also 4 pots instead of 2 pots, so you get cylinders either side instead of just the 2. It's like a floating jobby on that. So the braking should be an awful lot better on this as well. Awful lot better. So we got them. What else do we need? Well, the master cylinder that's on the Bandit is meant to, power just rubbish brakes. So that's no good. So I've had to get another master cylinder as well. So I've got another master cylinder. This one goes with them brakes, basically. It's all off the same bike. Again, I've got service kits and everything else for it, but we've got the reservoir that will ultimately get swapped out when we do the proper build. It'll have something a lot nicer. But I know the bore of this master cylinder is matched to those calipers, so we shouldn't have any issues there at all. Just needs to strip and service and we're away. So the braking system is almost good, apart from the lines. See, the lines on the Bandit, it runs a splitter. Let me show you. Right, so if you look at the Bandit, you've got a single line here, which obviously comes down from the master cylinder. It goes into the splitter, and then you get a line off each side, here and here, and that goes down, and it feeds the rubbishy little brakes that's on it at the minute. I hate them. I really hate them with a passion. I think they're ugly as hell. I don't like them. So that's getting changed. So I've got another set of brake lines. Braided ones. Natch. Wezmoto. W-E-Z-M-O-T-O. Never heard of them, but they was on eBay. I thought we'd give them a go because they weren't that expensive. Comes with copper washes and, all that other stuff, banjos and blah blah blah. So now I've got something to join the master cylinder to the brake calipers. and we should have brakes on big old 320mm discs, which are also going to get replaced because these have got smuts and nastiness going on. For now, they will just get cleaned up and tried and used, but when the bike gets built, it's having nice spanky ones put on it. Right, so that's that. So we've now got yokes, forks, brakes and a wheel. The rubber will go on later, that's not a problem. So what else is there? Well, because I've changed the yokes, I can't use the handlebars anymore. There's nowhere to put them on the yoke. So I need some different handlebars. So I've got another set of clip-ons. Because ultimately they're going to be using clip-ons anyway. You know, no harm in getting them. So these are the clip-ons I've got. Nice little aluminium jobbies. They're not adjustable and all the rest of it. It's just a basic clip-on. These match up with a 45mm fork. So these do actually go over there. They, you know, you just got pinch bolts and this, that and the other. So they'll go on. The master cylinder will also fit on here as well. Don't know about the switch gear, but the switch gear is getting changed out anyway. But that should go on here. In the build it'll have bar end indicators, so that'll be coming out anyway. But that'll do. So now I've got a way of steering the bike and a way of mounting all the controls. Brilliant. I've also had to buy some service bits and bobs. Bearings aren't here yet. However, in here I've got a new set of brake pads. You know, again, new pins, like, you know, the springs, everything. So that's all good. In here I've got some fork oil. We're going to be going with 10-way fork oil. And in here I've got the kits to service the forks as well. So this is going to, we've got the seals and scraper and all that stuff. I've also got the, hang on. I've also got the two like inner sleeves and stuff. They're going to be in there. Oh, I can't be bothered to open it. You get the gist, but basically it's a complete service kit for the forks. So everything, like the bushings and, you know, all that malarkey, all getting changed out, all swapped out for fresh. So that's all good. I've also got service kit for the brake master cylinder. That's on its way. I've got the, you know, bearings for the headstock and the wheels, blah 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 blah. It's all got to get sorted, so it's all getting swapped out. It's all getting changed. Right. So, if you think they're doing a fork swap, don't think it's just the forks that you're going to be swapping it in, especially if you're buying stuff off eBay. Basically, this is nearly all the stuff. Like I say, there's a few bits and pieces that aren't here yet, but this is nearly all the stuff I'll be using to get the job done. There is still a few more bits and pieces to come, but there is an awful lot to it. It is possible just to slap different forks in there, but if they're a slightly different length and all that sort of stuff, then you're going to be messing about with geometry and the bike's going to handle completely differently. And, you know, you could just be in for a world of pain. So what I would say is do your own work, do your research, get stuff that's the right length and that's all going to fit together. If you can, all off the same bike. If not, you just have to make sure that it's all going to go together okay. Because if it don't, then it just ain't going to work, or it's not going to be safe. Right, so might as well start with the steering stem. I've never pressed one out before, full disclosure. But this could be interesting. Basically what I've got it set on the two big plates at the bottom, and I've got some spacers which are just either side of the steering stem, just catching the edge of the there we go, catching the edge of the yokes. Basically they don't overhang, oh you cock, they don't overhang the steering stem where it's going to come out the bottom, but there is not a lot to sort of catch there, really isn't. So this could all go sideways, I don't know. I'm hoping it don't. Ideally I'd have a piece of tube that would fit it, but I haven't got anything. Right, so we're just clearing. Just. I have wound the nut down on top and I've bottomed it out absolutely completely. It's like a blind nut. So the thread goes into it and then there's a clearance and then you get the very top of it. So it's basically, I just don't want to muller the thread on the top of the steering stem by applying force to the top of it. I mean, you know, it is quite chunky stuff, but still, it's like if you curl the edges over, I mean, you know, I ain't got a tab that big, or a die that big rather. So that would be like a massive pain. So I'm hoping that that top nut is going to save the day and I can wind it out and the threads will be all right. If I completely cock this up, I've got another one on the Bandit. And to be fair, this was cheap as chips, and that's the only bit that I want. The lower bearing is still on, so essentially we're going to be pressing that bearing off at the same time. And I'm hoping that this is going to work, but I am going to go easy. Yeah, it's not catching. I'm scared to death that this thing is going to ping out. See, there's some pressure being applied there now. No. Yeah, it's started to move though, which is good. I'm standing off to one side just in case it does go. Yeah. Ooh, didn't like the sound of that. The hell was that noise? It started to shift it left. You can see it going. Let's put a straight edge against this. And the nut still comes off, so the threads ain't getting buggered. So that side of things is working. What was that clang? Was it a spring or something? Could have been. It sounded like a spring. That's fine. That's fine. Right, that's all fine. I really want a piece of tube though. I mean, it's going. Let's have another go. Right, so he's clearing. Ideally, I should have probably took that bearing off. You know, took the bearing race off because it is all extra pressure, isn't it? Right. Twang. You hear it? Stop doing that! Stop it. I think it's going. Yeah. Hey, there we go. I don't like it when you make noises. Stop it. Threads are actually fine. Absolutely fine. Because if you see the end, it kind of tapers in. I didn't want to press just straight onto that and risk deforming them, but that's absolutely not a problem. Yeah, sweet as. Right. So that's you. You need a bit of a clean up. So there's a groove around the bottom here that's got this clip in it. I would imagine the Daytona one has got a similar sort of affair, although it does have a plastic cap in it. Right, you're coming out. Tool abuse, I know, but it's coming out. See, why would you put something in the bottom to stop all the water coming out? Right. He's a little bit different, isn't he? How am I going to get that out in a press without... See, they're going to be at different heights. I really need a tube that's just a little bit bigger. Let's have a look. Right, that is not coming off. Not like that. I think what I'm going to do is take the race off the bottom. I seem to be putting an awful lot of pressure into this. And it ain't bloody shifting. So I think I'm going to have the bearing race off. I'll cut that, chisel it, get that off. Just because that way there'll be less, sort of resistance. That way I am only pushing the pin out through the yoke and not through the yoke and the bearing race. So I've got away with it with the Bandit one. I don't think I'm going to get away with it on this one though. Open, it starts to shift now. Bottom of that there is clear, and that's all flat. Right. He's in there, isn't he? Oh, 8 mil. I don't like those noises. However, we have definitely shifted. I just wish it didn't make all these nasty noises, that's all. Here we go again. Well, it's still clear. Yay! Oh, I don't like them noises. I think what it is as the whatever you're pushing out, as it kind of jumps and lets go, is obviously the springs sort of quiver and you get like this resonating thing, and it just, I don't like it. That's alright. The bottom's not marred up or anything, well, it's got like 2 tiny little nicks here, which is obviously just where the tool steel was pressured on it. And the bearing is completely good, you can see it's spread open like anything. Right then, what we got? Not marred up or anything. It's a good way of doing it, you just have to go slow and steady. Like I say, I ain't bothered about the pin, you know, that originally came out of these. Don't give a monkeys about it. It's this one that's of interest. Bottom of it does need a bit of a clean up though. It does. And that just slips straight in. So, that ain't gonna do. That ain't gonna do at all. So, we're gonna need to make up some kind of a collar to go on this, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a dead snug fit, but it goes in too easy. You know, I don't need hydraulic press to push it out, I can just do that. So, we're going to need to make a collar, which means this is going to be need to be bored out and sleeved, I think, such that when this gets pushed in, it's an interference fit the same as it was on the originals. Damn. Right, okay. How big was this, just out of interest? I know these aren't the most accurate things, but .13, and this. I'm getting between 30.26 hang on, 30.26 30.31. So there is bugger all in it. Absolutely bugger all in it. But it's enough to make it not an interference fit. It needs to be an interference fit. Damn. So there you go. For all of you that thought a front end swap was a doddle, it ain't. There's stuff you have to do. And it's all this natchery little stuff, you know, close, because this is close. Close ain't good enough. It's got to be right. So that's how we're going to do it. I'll clean all this up. This is nothing. It's just like, you know, years of old grease just gone hard and nasty. So that should clean up an absolute treat. And like I say, I can take this into work. There's no marring up on it or anything. Doing it with the press, brilliant. I've got a tiny little scratch on the bottom here where, because I had this bit of tool steel, I had that in there just to sort of take up the gap. So it's pressing there, there and there. I would have liked to have done it, you know, just as a tube around the hole. But that weren't happening. I haven't got anything to fit it. So, but that's all nice in there. There's a little bit of rough going on, so we can dress that up. And I think that's just where moisture is, because it had this bloody cap in the bottom. I don't know why it had a cap in the bottom, but I think water's collected there, and it's just sort of, you know, it's just nasty. It's just grot. It just needs cleaning up. I'd probably do it with just like a deburring tool almost. But anyway, I'll get all that done. We'll get a sleeve made, bore that out, make a sleeve, that can go in there, that can get pressed in so it's a proper interference fit and it ain't going to go anywhere, and it has to be pressed out by a machine, not a man. And then we're in. But that is basically going to be my lower yokes. It's alright, isn't it? I'm just annoyed about that bit. Anyway, there's going to be a few little videos like this, because I need to go through and show you all the, because this isn't the only problem that I've got to solve. I was hoping these were good. I measured it as good as I can from the outside, and I thought it was going to be the same. But, you know, it's, like I say, close ain't good enough. But there's going to be lots of little bits and pieces like this, and you have to make sure that everything is right to be able to really trust the front end and lean on it and give it large and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Because if you just sat there second guessing, well, I don't know, didn't have to push it in very hard for it to sit, is it going to stay? I mean, that's going to be playing on your mind, isn't it? So, you know, you've got to do it right. And that's what we're doing, because that bike's going to be a diamond when it's done. The plan is to get ASBO up and kicking with a whole new front end and headlamp, because that one's junk, such that when Jixit is done, we can all go out for a hoon. And he won't just leave me for dead because he's got spanky suspension. I'll be able to keep up with him, hopefully. But I don't know, we'll just see, won't we? But anyway, there's going to be a few little videos like this. We've got the brakes to sort out, I've got the wheel bearings and blah, all that other stuff. And I'm going to basically get all the separate pieces all good and ready. I'll service everything, so, you know, you'll be seeing that lot as well. And then the last bit is just like stick it all on the bike. We can go out for a hoon, you can come with us and see what it's like. We are going to have to tweak about a bit and dial it in. I'm still researching spring weights and, you know, oil and air gap and everything else, because it is going to be different, but we are only going to be changing one thing at a time when we set it up. But we'll walk you through all that when we get to it. But anyway, that's where I'll leave it today. In abject misery that I haven't got it done. You know, it's a start, isn't it? Anyway, hope you're all keeping well and staying safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Laters!